121 is out, and with it comes a really cool new feature for end gateways, Chunkloading. Basically, this gives us the ability to keep an area of the end loaded while the player is not around. The concept is really similar to how nether portal chunk loaders work, so if you're familiar with those, you already have a pretty good idea of what's going on. I've linked these two gateways so it's easy to see what's happening, and both sides have the exact same machine attached. Now turning on this side will trigger the dispenser to create a boat half a block above this waterlogged block, just touching the gateway, which causes it to get teleported to this block on the other side. Doing this will make the game load up a 7x7 square of chunks around this exit block for 15 seconds. This boat now has a 15-second cooldown before it can go through a portal again, so to get around that we have to turn it into an item entity. Bedrock burns forever in the end, so lighting this part of the frame on fire will break down any incoming boats, which will immediately get sucked up by the hopper minecart and sent to the dispenser. The comparator detects this and fires the boat into the portal, which will then load the other side for 15 seconds. Now we have a loop where both sides are forcing each other to stay loaded. We are now free to leave the area, even go back to the overworld, and any farms or machines in the area, with some exceptions, will keep running until we turn the machine off or close the game. The chunks that get loaded do not all have the same functionality, and this map shows us the three different types of chunks that we have. The central 3x3 green chunks are normal entity processing chunks. Everything works mostly as you would expect, just keep in mind that random tick events like random crop growth and enderman spawning do require a player to be around, so they will not work, but forced spawning farms like shulker and iron farms will still work, as will forced growth farms using bone meal. The yellow chunks are block ticking chunks, also known as lazy chunks. Block interactions and redstone machines work normally in this area, but any entities like mobs and items will not be processed. They're essentially in suspended animation, so make sure that any entities you're working with are fully contained within the green region. This is a good place to store mobs for a mob switch though, as they won't be creating much lag, but will still contribute to the mob cap. Here I've got 70 shulkers, which will prevent endermen from spawning anywhere in the end for a single player. The orange chunks are non-ticking border chunks. No game actions are processed in this area at all, so it is mostly useless, but mobs in these chunks will still contribute to the mob cap, so you can also place your mob switch here. So as I said before, the center chunk is the chunk that the exit block is in, not the portal block. So if I move the exit block to here, this would be the center chunk instead. The way the game determines the exit block is by checking the 11x11 region around the receiving gate. Basically, it will use the highest block in that region that has a full cube hitbox. This includes solid blocks like your standard stone and wood blocks, transparent blocks like glass and leaves, as well as redstone components like observers and unpowered pistons. The game starts by searching at the northwest corner at max build height, fully scanning each Y level going south and then east, ignoring the central column that the gateway block is in, until it finds a block with a full cube hitbox, dumping the entity out on the first one it finds. If it doesn't find a valid exit block, it will just place the entity on top of the central gateway bedrock. To keep things simple, avoid building things above your loader in this 11x11 region if you can. Now this is RNG, but ideally you want to use a gateway where the exit is in a small end islands biome, which will make it easy to build underneath. One cool thing though is that mud and soul sand blocks don't count as valid exit blocks, so you can use them as your solid blocks in redstone if you do need to build above your loader. For example, I do this here in my hopper minecart based loader that I use to keep my shulker farm and mob switch loaded, as well as bring the shulker shells over to the main island. This mud block here powers the rails and pushes the minecart like a full block would, but it still allows me to have the exit block down here. Something really cool you can do with a gateway that is within 5 blocks of a chunk corner is load an 8x8 area by moving the exit block to a different chunk each cycle. That increases our fully loaded green chunk count from 9 to 16. These two machines are just proof of concepts that I haven't really tested or compacted yet, but they should be mostly reliable. Probably. Now this is the first one I made. It uses honey blocks and pistons to push the exit block around, and we have to keep the pistons a level down as they are valid exit blocks. Now this is the one I like a lot more. Each one of these pistons is in a different chunk, and we take advantage of the fact that pistons are valid exit blocks when unpowered, but invalid when extended. If we spread this out, we can see what's going on a little better. Now 3 out of 4 of these droppers have an item in them, and the empty one won't give it a comparator output, and therefore one of the pistons is not powered. Every pulse we send through will move the items around, changing which one is empty, and that rotates which piston is the valid exit block for that cycle. Okay, now the build tutorial. There is a schematic in the description if you prefer, as well as several variations, including minecart-based ones, in the world download. Now, while Masa will not be updating Litematica and his other mods to 121, Sakura Ryoko has been doing a really great job of keeping them updated for us, with 121 versions already released. You can get them from her GitHub, which I will link in the description. Now, in my inventory, I have everything needed to make both sides of the chunk loader. Just have a few temporary blocks on hand as well. So we start by putting a full cube block in between these upper 2 bedrock blocks here. Just make sure if this is the exit side, not that one, there. If this is the side that you want to have loaded, make sure you place this block in the correct chunk that you want to be the central loaded chunk. So we'll place that there. Now temporary block below, place a hopper downward facing there, break that, place our rail, then our hopper minecart. Now get our dispenser. So underneath the hopper we have it facing underneath that bedrock. Place your waterlogged block there, so a grate or leaves or stairs with something to block the water coming out. Then we just waterlog that. Then place a bottom slab in between these 2 bedrock blocks. Now come over here, place 2 temporary blocks coming out the back of the dispenser. Get our observer, place it there so it's firing into the dispenser. Now here, place a note block or a trapdoor or something that'll trigger the observer. Place a comparator on top of the observer. Then a solid block there on top of the note block. And then we grab our flint and steel and set that on fire. So build that on each side. Now on the side that the main island is on, or the side you want the switch on, which is usually going to be the main island, place a lever on the dispenser, power it, so that'll turn the machine off, and then place a boat inside the minecart with hopper. Now I'll just quickly build up the other side and turn this on and make sure I built it correctly. Okay, so I've built the other side up. Hopefully, if I've built everything correctly, this should start cycling. Okay, so we've got the boat coming through repeatedly. Yep, looks like everything's working, so machine's done. So that's it for today. 121 has a lot of interesting stuff to talk about, and the next video is going to be about raid farms. So I'm standing on top of a fully working 121 raid farm, so we'll talk about this and just the general state of raid farms in 121. So thank you very much for watching. Have a good one. See you later.